Hello, in the last video we have wrapped up our scripts into this class and get some data from Twitter and print here on our console. In this video I'm going to store some data into our database. I may take some example but not all of the data. Maybe here I'm just going to rename these files to just avoid confusion. Say maybe sample data over here. This is just a simple data. I will create another Python file to manipulate with the database. As you can see here, my local database have no Twitter data yet. I can fresh over here, right? Now we can create a Python file. Maybe I'm going to call it persistent data, right? So the first thing is I'm going to define our class called persistent data. Of course, I'm going to define the initial function, and maybe the first and the most important one is self and says getting Twitter. I will use this class and I will use getting Twitter class over here, copy, paste over here. So we have to import this class. So here in PyCharm we can do Alt and Enter. Then we can import this class over here. Now, in order to connect to the database, here we need some basic information about the database. Here we're going to say the first one, maybe the database type. And here my local database is PostgreSQL. Now, the second one is going to be maybe username. And my username is Postgres. Third one, maybe I will say password equal to, my password is 123. Also, we need the database address. Database address is equal to, here is my local host, but it can be a remote database, as you know. And the port is the default port. Here mine is 5432. The last information about the database is the database name, or the database we're actually going to connect it. So database, and here my database is as you can see, is Postgres. So Postgres. Now we can format this code a little bit, make it more tidy. And in the previous videos, we also need to create the database engine or metadata or session maker, etc., so that we can talk with the database. So here I'm going to say self.engine is equal to create engine. I'm going to say this. The first one is database type, and here we have a colon over here, and then we have the username, and then the password over here, and then add to the address. Here maybe a simplicity address, then colon port, and lastly we have the database name over here. database, and of course here we're going to use format. Database type, this one is equal to our self database type. Over here, the username is equal to, this username is equal to self dot username. Password over here is equal to self dot password, and also the address over here, and this is going to be self dot database address. Now we can format this code a little bit. We also miss the port, and self dot port over here. Now let's try to create metadata over here. Self maybe metadata, and here we can import this class. We're going to say bind it is equal to self dot engine, send to self. The indent is not really correct. Self is session maker, so that we can make sessions. Makers is equal to session maker. Bind is equal to self dot engine. We also need to import this class. Now let's actually create a session instance of with the session maker. Session self dot session maker. The next step, we're going to create our data table to install data we may want. So here I'm going to define a function called create table parameters called table name, right? And we will say Twitter table is equal to table. And of course, we also need to import this class over here. Sometimes it's not really work well, then we have to do this manually. We'll add over here, and then we'll say table name, and the method data, and then we will create corresponding column we're interested in. Of course, we need the ID, the created at time, and the text, as well as here's the user and ID. All right. So let's create corresponding columns. So we will say column. Also, we need to import this as well. Right, and the column name is going to be ID. We will say it's a string type in database, and also it's a primary key. We will say true. This string is not the Python built-in string, it's a Python alchemy string. Here we try to import it, it's not work very well. Then we also do it manually, because we also need the text for the Twitter text. So here I'm also import the text, and also the created time is a data time type. So I will import them all in once. Now the second column, we may install user ID. So we will copy this one. Say the second column is user ID, and the type is string. And the third column is going to be text, and the type is going to be text. We need the created time, so we'll say created at. Maybe we just copy it from in the tweeters. Here here, copy and paste over here. And this one going to be at that time. And lastly, extended is true. No, true. So that even we try to recreate this table, if there is an exist one, there will no error shows up, and it will use the ordered table. We need create the table. We'll say self metadata and create more, and then return the Twitter table. Okay, let's try to format this code, make it more clear. Lastly, we want to insert the data we actually get from Twitter into the database, or specifically we want to insert the data into this table we just created. Here we're going to say define insert Twitter data, and also a table name. And here I'm going to say I equals to insert. So we also need to import this insert, right? And here I'm going to say, and here we're going to say table name is over there. Then we will say for Twitter in the data, we will iterate them out, insert them into our database. So here we're going to say I is equal to I dot values. And then we can use the dictionary. The first one we're going to say ID, as you can see above. Twitter get ID, because it's a dictionary, so that we can get the value by the key, just like over here. And then the second column is going to be user ID. It's a colon over here. Get. I think the first is going to be user. As you can see, we're going to get the users. As you can see, first we need to get the user inside of the Twitter, and then get user's ID. Now let's back Python and say get users. Now the third column is going to be text. Here I'm going to say Twitter get text. And the last column we're going to say the created at, which actually time Twitter has been posted. Twitter get created at. Actually, we cannot do it in this way because it's not a string, so we have to parse the data type. As you can see here in the sample data, it's a string currently, but we are going to insert this value into a datetime type. So we have to convert this string into a data time. We are going to parse the value over here. We're going to say created at is equal to browser.parse, and we're going to pass this value into the function. Here we're going to import the, it's not work, then I will import manually. This is going to be from date util import. Now after we got this insert statement, we need to use session to execute the insert actions. So we will say self and session and say execute. Okay, after the follow-up done, we will commit the session execute result so that it can actually commit to the database server. So we're going to say self session commit, right? So after all those done, we need a main function to test it. So we will say a main function over here, and we're going to define new instance of the persistence class. So persistence data, and then we going to say Twitter data is equal to PD, and get the getting Twitter, and we can also get data over here. And here we still give a data signs as a keyword, but you can give any words you are interested in. Want to get 100 tweeters, and then probably we need to print this result out in terms of confirm whether we have get this data correctly. And then we want to insert them into our database. So insert data, we'll say Twitter data. We'll give a Twitter table name. We'll create a table in the database, this string. And lastly, we give some information so that we know the scripts whether finished successfully. Maybe here I just simply print this 100 Twitter have been stored in database, right? And format the code. All right, let's try to run this script. Sorry, we still need this module, and so we need to install this library. Okay, install is success. Okay, we got the result, but here is an error message over here. Oh, sorry, misspell over here. Should be existing, right? And even though there is an error message over here, but I'm not sure. Actually, we have already got the data, but I'm going to drop out this table and rerun our script. Okay, for a script to run and get the Twitter data successfully, and I believe it's already stored into our database. I'm going to refresh over here, and we have Twitter table over here. As you can see, we have the columns we've created and with corresponding data. This is just a sample example. You can install more data if you want. As you can see in the sample data, we have a lot of interesting data in the Twitter. So good luck with that, and see you next video.